Homage Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to Manjushri. Homage to the lineage masters. The profound Dharma, difficult to encounter in hundreds of thousands of eons. Now I see, hear, and receive it. May I understand the true meaning of the Tathagata. To liberate all sentient beings, please generate supreme bodhicitta. Next, let us now continue studying the guidance on the preliminary practices of Dzogchen. I have already discussed the 8 kinds of perfection. Today, I will begin to discuss in detail the perfection of the special method of thinking. Because the essence of a human life is leisure, that is, having the time and freedom to rest and reflect, one must have enough free time so that one can truly study and benefit from the Dharma. Its special features, or necessary conditions, are the endowments that must be complete. There are 10 endowments. The first are the 5 personal endowments. The second are the 5 circumstantial endowments. First, the 5 personal endowments, which are divided into 5 aspects. The endowments are basis, environment, faculties, faith, and intention. And faith endowment, making 5 endowments in total. First, these 5 endowments will be explained in a summarized manner. As Nagarjuna Bodhisattva said, born human with complete faculties in a central land, with pure karma and faith in Buddhism. This is precisely how it is clearly and explicitly stated in the various important treatises and commentaries that are directly related to the revered Nagarjuna Bodhisattva. He explains the 5 endowments in this way, and in the following explanation it is said, if one does not obtain a human body, one cannot encounter the Dharma. Now, having obtained this precious human body with leisure and endowments, this is the basis endowment. Basis means our status or identity. Our status now possesses all the favorable conditions for practicing the Dharma. It is already complete, explained clearly. Right now, among the vast, immense, and truly boundless sea of humanity, at this very moment, to obtain a human body with the opportunity to practice the Dharma is indeed extremely important. If one has not obtained a human body in this lifetime, even if the Buddha has already indeed truly appeared in the world, and the precious Dharma has not yet disappeared or faded away, and even if a qualified spiritual teacher is currently imparting exceptionally profound Dharma teachings, if we have not yet managed to obtain a human body as of now, encountering the Dharma, obtaining the special secrets, and understanding the teachings of the Dharma, all of these things would be completely out of reach. The reason why it is difficult to obtain a human body and encounter the Dharma, it's also very, very difficult, honestly. However, we have now already actually obtained the 8 types of leisure mentioned above and the 10 types of endowments analyzed below. We have obtained a human body with leisure and opportunity. Therefore, from the very depths of our hearts, we truly and deeply ought to feel extremely joyful, because in terms of our current status at this moment, we are perfectly suited for Dharma practice. Were we reborn in heavenly realms, pleasures in heaven will far surpass what we experience now. Nowadays, some wealthy people think they are as if enjoying the luxurious pleasures of the heavens, but that is not the case. If you were truly reborn in the fortunate heavenly realms, then your enjoyments would be inexhaustible. It's not like in our world where once you finish eating, there's nothing left. It's not like that at all. In many heavenly realms, as soon as you simply have a thought, whatever you wish for immediately appears. The lives of celestial beings are, in fact, truly much happier, especially when compared to humans. If you think, I want to eat better food, whatever food you truly desire will instantly appear before you as soon as you think of it. If you want to, for example, wear finer clothes, then almost immediately, just by simply thinking of it in your mind, the clothes will appear right in front of you. Or if you want to meditate, as soon as your mind settles even a little, it happens instantly. It's not like some people who want to sleep but just can't fall asleep. It's especially painful tossing and turning, rolling around in bed all the time, trying hard to sleep, but in the end you can't, and you just become more and more awake. You might have to get up and sit for a while, and then after sitting for a bit, you feel sleepy again. Some people really rely on their 5 aggregate body. The suffering they experience is immense, but the happiness of celestial beings truly and indeed greatly surpasses all of this in every conceivable way. Yet, despite this, they still lack the Dharma. Why do all 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon attain Buddhahood in human form doesn't say that one becomes a Buddha through the identity of Indra. That is, to attain Buddhahood through the identity of Brahma, to attain Buddhahood through the identity of Prajnaparamita. There is truly no such phenomenon to be found. All beings, without exception, ultimately attain Buddhahood in human form. This too has a very special and profound cause and condition. In the heavenly realms, there are few with karmic connections and sharp faculties who sometimes hear some Dharma teachings. But this kind of hearing the Dharma is merely getting a bit of the teachings. It is extremely rare for them to develop true renunciation of samsara or to give rise to bodhicitta. Therefore, we should all take a moment to thoughtfully reflect on the important fact that we have obtained a human body. If we had not obtained such a human body and encountered profound Mahayana Dharma in this very life. And as for Mahayana Dharma, you see, many people follow a single lineage, for example, attending over 100 or even 200 classes and completing all of them. Does any other kind of being have this opportunity? No, they do not. Generally speaking, sometimes hungry ghosts or non-human beings may have the wish to hear the Dharma. They want to seek out some spiritual teachers. But when it comes to actually attending Dharma teachings, they might come to the first class. But by the second class, their minds become very distracted. And after being tempted by various external circumstances, their illusory, ethereal mental bodies move even faster than humans. Then they are swept by external phenomena. It is extremely rare, even among non-human beings, to have a long-term, stable, and complete transmission. Among hungry ghosts, some kings or spirit deities, these beings with a spiritual teacher, is that we can't see them with naked eyes. In reality, they also come to listen to the Dharma, true in Buddha's time. Even now, whether it's a counselor or a Dharma teacher, when they are teaching to non-humans, listen Dharma. There absolutely are, there's no doubt about it. But their transmission is actually completely different from that of humans. We, on the other hand, are very well suited for listening to the Dharma. Why do all 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon attain enlightenment as humans? There are unique causes and conditions for this. So, now that we have obtained such a human body, as stated in the Bodhicaravatara, this is something we, even in our dreams, we could not obtain it. This truly is something to be extremely joyful about. If we make use of it, it is a vessel far more precious than any gold or silver treasure. It is indeed truly extremely precious. But if we do not make use of it and instead use this human form to create negative karma, this is also extremely frightening. Therefore, first and foremost, we must remember to truly value the very basis of our existence, our human identity as human beings. However, in this degenerate age, sometimes people truly, genuinely, and honestly do not cherish their human life. Not at all. They do not engage in the genuine and systematic practice of Dharma methods, nor do they follow the true, authentic teachings and structured, and frequently encounter a wide variety of challenging and difficult situations, as well as numerous adverse conditions and obstacles that can hinder progress and make it much harder to achieve their goals. Some of the teachings that have been passed on by many different people over time also, unfortunately, have certain problems. Well, recently, I heard that in the Northeast, people say you don't need to practice the 5 preliminary practices anymore, just pay 600 yuan and it can be done for you. When I heard this kind of statement, on one hand, I was quite surprised. Years ago, heard it was 600 yuan. Now, with prices constantly rising, how come the fee for the preliminary practices hasn't gone up? That's honestly what I really thought. But on the other hand, I still felt really very uncomfortable. Why is that? It's not because some of the people studying the preliminaries with us have gone over to them. That doesn't really matter. There are so many people all over the country. But in reality, I've really heard that after listening to these people, they urge people not to practice preliminaries, saying there's no need to exhaust. I've heard that Lama's teachings are simple. Just a snap of the fingers, as long as you pay 600 yuan. You don't need to put in any effort at all. It's very, very quick. If you don't actually have the money, I'll pay for you. They persuade Dharma teachers, Master, please go to, I will give you money. You can go over there. The Lama is really so compassionate. The Lama says there's no need for such ascetic practices. Prostrating 100,000 times is so exhausting. Look, just pay 600 yuan, and no matter what, it's quick and easy. So when some people talk about it, they really do sound especially foolish. A lot of people flock there in droves. Many of them followed a more systematic approach. They wanted to practice some teaching seriously and diligently. But as a result, many people gave it up for various reasons. Later, I thought, of course, nowadays, many people go there just to get rich these days. If it's to get rich, it's okay. But if you can't carry out certain practices, the obstacles are quite significant. Moreover, it also affects the entire Tibetan Buddhism. In the past, Guru Padmasambhava of Tibetan Buddhism, or Je Tsongkhapa, as well as Longshen Rabjam Mipam Rinpoche and His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok, high monks and great masters like them not only didn't dare to point directly, but even the elders themselves practiced the preliminaries. Step by step, they all practiced the preliminaries. All the disciples they advised also completed them fully and thoroughly. It's also mentioned later in the preliminaries. Generally in the lineages of Jigme Lingpa and Jigme Gyalwe Nyugu, everyone, including reciting the Guru Rinpoche mantra 10 million times and performing 100,000 prostrations. The other day I saw that we have a practitioner here. She has completed more than 10 million prostrations, which is an incredible accomplishment and a clear demonstration of her remarkable diligence and unwavering commitment to her spiritual practice. She has been doing prostrations for many years without ever stopping. If all these virtuous roots are destroyed, it will indeed have an impact on Buddhism. Just for oneself, begging for alms and making money. Many people nowadays, through different means, monastics have their monastic ways of making money. Lay people have their lay ways of making money. In the degenerate age of the Dharma, you could say everyone displays their own abilities, using all sorts of methods. But to say that all these stages should be completely destroyed in any way is not very reasonable. I originally wanted to have a conversation with this person at first, whether in the name of the institute or in my own name. This is an absolutely unprecedented claim in the entire Chinese Buddhist community. If the guru is an accomplished master, he says you don't need to practice preliminaries. He will directly point out your true nature. If he says this, I can also understand, because if someone is truly a great accomplished master, like Guru Padmasambhava, or such as the great master Pema Modra in the past, if both the guru is extremely gifted and the disciple has a special capacity, under such extraordinary circumstances, pointing out the true nature is acceptable. But none of them ever asked for 600 yuan or 300 yuan, a fee for the preliminaries, and after a while the price might even go up. If the price doesn't go up, then it's not keeping up with the trend. Did Guru Padmasambhava actually set prices like this even back then? So sometimes we really don't want to accept this, and we strongly, truly, absolutely condemn it. Such statements, often regarding the lineage masters, no matter who it is, whether they're truly happy or not, they definitely won't be happy after hearing this, and maybe the disciples won't be happy after. But I'm also honestly prepared to say this, face to face. To those related disciples, I hope you will observe and reflect on this repeatedly. Every lineage master of Tibetan Buddhism, is there any saying that money can be used as a substitute? Maybe it's because we are ignorant and unaware, but after studying and researching the Dharma for so many years, and having carefully read the histories of all the great masters and accomplished beings of Tibetan Buddhism, like me, and those currently in Tibetan, especially the history of the Nyingma school in particular, I should say I have read all of them. History of Dzogchen, red annals, white annals, as well as notably the blue annals and Dujom's history of Buddhism. Recently, we mentioned the Ornament of Jambudvipa treatise, which includes introductions to the lineage masters. Works like Longchen Nyingtik and Bumahat Essence contain many masters' biographies, but none require you must pay money to skip the preliminary practices. So, when we truly have a complete and absolutely perfect human existence, we must pay close attention to how exactly we should practice the Dharma. We hope to follow a step-by-step approach. Human life's rarity isn't said casually. You should realize that this human existence is precious. I should make good use of this body. With this body, I still need to practice the authentic Dharma. just as it is taught in the Bodhicitta, transform it into a truly priceless and incomparable treasure that is the magnificent sacred body of a Tathagatan embodiment of ultimate perfection and enlightenment. This is extremely necessary. We should not use human existence for wrongs. If we have a perfect human body, if our body is already complete, if we rely on our own bodies to start doing evil, not only do we create negative karma ourselves, but we also bring harm to the entire Dharma. This is truly a deeply regrettable thing, significantly affecting the Dharma for generations to come. What was originally a good tradition is tarnished by the actions of a few individuals. Because now, in the degenerate age, the power of the Maras is very strong. For example, if 100 people spread virtuous teachings, not everyone will accept them. But if one person spreads demonic or unwholesome teachings, everyone is able to accept them. This is because the discriminating thoughts of worldly people are very much in tune with those of the Maras. Whether it is teachings or discriminating thoughts blessed by the demon king, these are extremely well suited to the minds of ordinary worldly people. Isn't that so? Let's take a look. When people hear the name of Amitabha Buddha, many of them don't immediately develop faith. Sing a pop song or sing something that stirs up greed or anger. Just think how many people would be interested. If Dharma teacher talks about the Amitabha Sutra and advertises and promotes it throughout a big city, in the end, if a few hundred or a few thousand people show up, that's considered quite good. But if a celebrity is actually going to perform and sing a song about greed, advertise for him in advance, then how many people came when he arrived? And at the event, so many people are completely entranced, just lost in it. Sometimes when we look at the screens on television, I can't help think, oh, so many people in this world are truly, genuinely, and incredibly ignorant. We're already living in a world that's almost like a dream, like an illusion, a world of delusion. And if we keep indulging ourselves like this, in the end, we'll lose our way, but people have no idea. That's exactly why the power of some evil forces and heretical paths is in fact extremely strong. I hope everyone pays attention to this. Personally, I don't really care about anything else. Whether others slander me or talk about me, it doesn't matter. As an ordinary person, I am inherently flawed, a being with sinful nature. So it's natural for others to criticize me. It's nothing, and they have every right to say so. But for the sake of the Dharma, truly, when I see or hear things not in accordance with the Dharma, or words not in accordance with the Dharma, when necessary, I have no choice but to point it out. There's no need to say nice things, because life is very short. If you don't make sacrifices for the propagation of the Dharma, you are definitely not a Mahayana practitioner. So, on the one hand, I also hope that, in some ways in particular, many of the monks here may one day become abbots or Dharma teachers. Will you try shortcuts or seek personal gain then? Let the true lineage master's transmission remain in its entirety, entirely and completely, in accordance with the Dharma, as pure as gold. It's easy to let your own ideas distort and contaminate it. This is something really, truly frightening. So you must be vigilant yourself. At the same time, right now within our community, many people are spreading all kinds of so-called Dharma teachings that are ambiguous or misleading. At such times, you should keep your eyes wide open. You should open the wisdom in your heart. Carefully examine again and again what is right or wrong, what should be accepted or rejected. Otherwise, sentient beings nowadays are extremely ignorant. When others say, this is very good, everyone just goes with the flow and starts echoing along, which is truly, genuinely laughable. That's why, after finally and truly finding a bright and clear path, if you lose your sense of direction at this point, you might end up falling straight down from truly great heights. Next, it is said that if you are born in a remote place where the true Dharma does not exist, then you will not have the chance to encounter the authentic teachings. But now, since we are already in a land where Buddhism flourishes, where the teachings of the Buddha are accessible and respected by many, this is called having perfect circumstances, meaning that all the favorable conditions for spiritual practice and progress are present. It's as if we are reborn where Buddhism does not flourish in a remote area without the teachings or the profound realization of the Dharma or true understanding. Then we cannot encounter the Dharma or meet a spiritual teacher, nor can we come across the true principles of what to adopt and what to abandon. But that is not our situation. Now many people present here truly live in a place where Buddhism is thriving. The environment is very good. If there were no Buddhism, I'm afraid that some people wouldn't even have the opportunity to take refuge. But now, on the one hand, we have this kind of unique opportunity, a chance that is truly significant. I often think there's another point. Many people here listening to the Dharma now indeed also have very good timing. For example, whether in Han regions or in Tibetan regions in particular, or elsewhere, during the 1960s and 70s, Buddhism truly suffered a historic destruction. If we had been reborn at that time, many people really, in fact, honestly wouldn't possess the virtuous roots that they have in their lives today. I once heard some thoughtful words from a certain wise Lama some time ago. At that time, it was Khenpo Jinwang who personally taught us. We listened to many important teachings from him. He said that His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche and Khenpo Choki from Huoxi, as he specifically stated, for the entire Sertar, he is truly, genuinely an extraordinary practitioner. Why do I say this? Because many people feared reciting Avalokiteshvara mantra, but Khenpo Choki would recite it daily. He would read at least around 20 different scriptures every single day, and he never, ever stopped. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche read many scriptures and spread teachings. At that time, the political situation was extremely dangerous. It should be said that they were risking their lives to transmit the Dharma. Later on, many of His Holiness's senior disciples here, for example, when His Holiness went to herd sheep or graze livestock nearby, other disciples would also follow him up to the mountaintop as well. One person stood outside to watch for people coming while the others would study the Dharma all together. Sometimes they would go into caves, some small caves nearby, for example, all of which were significant places where His Holiness taught the Dharma during the most dangerous times. Even in these circumstances, their listening, thought, and study of the Dharma never ceased, continuing until the very end of his life. From childhood, throughout his entire life, he was devoted to studying and spreading the Dharma. In such a life, he had already truly fulfilled his own great and meaningful existence. They were all like this. The Khenpo Jinwang who told us these stories was the same. Although he wouldn't claim to be exactly like them, he too never abandoned the Dharma, even in such a challenging and difficult era. But when I honestly reflect on us, we can't even compare to them. If there's even a slight breeze of trouble, everyone gets terribly scared. Some lay practitioners, when the police come to register them, they never showed up again after that. Not even once. There's nothing to be afraid of with registration or anything like that. Last year, I heard some lay practitioners. There were occasions when someone would arrive at our office specifically to register. And interestingly, there was even an instance when a person came. It was just someone coming to collect the water bill, but as soon as he knocked on the door, many people ran away, terrified. So now, for each of us, whenever we reflect on and consider our own personal connection and relationship with the Dharma, the teachings that guide us, it's great in such a wonderful era. We truly, genuinely live every day without worries or cares. All attentive, thinking, because apart from the Dharma, we have nothing else. Everything goes smoothly for us, and we haven't encountered any obstacles. It has been such a long time since we wrote the Entering the Path. We've all really been learning together, and in fact, there haven't been any obstacles. But some people who are timid, as soon as there's even a slight issue, they get completely scared and run away. But for people like this, let alone the era of the 10-year turmoil, even more so, they would simply retreat, even when faced with just a little bit of adversity. So now, on the one hand, we really do need to rely on ourselves, truly. We need to examine ourselves and see what kind of person we truly are. If in the future the times change, or if the social atmosphere changes, so how will you approach and treat the Dharma then in this situation? This is something should be discussed in this way. I have read many stories about old practitioners before over the years, Personally, I especially enjoy reading about old practitioners now. I feel those old practitioners have nothing but the Dharma at heart. There's nothing mixed in none of the 8 worldly concerns, politics or economics. Various social impact toxins, such as many of them live solely to benefit sentient beings. And for the Dharma, apart from that, outwardly, there's really nothing else. But now, whether it's the new generation of monastics or some lay practitioners, there are devoted elder lay people in Tibetan Han regions. They have very few thoughts apart from the Dharma. But nowadays, these young people often spend all day simply chasing after money and other things. Even though they have already taken refuge in the Dharma, in reality, their study is not very devoted, solid, or deep. So we think that we still need to examine ourselves again and again. Why did we really come into this world? Tell me, what true place does the Dharma really hold in your heart? You should repeatedly reflect and observe your own mind. Then you will simply understand. In the past, these practitioners, so how exactly did they themselves obtain the Dharma? It was very difficult at that time. Some old elders struggled seeking the Dharma. When we read about it, we feel deeply moved and ashamed. So now, in such a favorable time, with any adverse conditions, as long as we are willing to practice, the external circumstances, we can say, are actually indeed quite good. In such circumstances, I think everyone's environment can, in its own unique way, be regarded as truly complete. This is what we truly call a complete environment. If any of our faculties were even slightly impaired, it would in fact become an obstacle to practice. But now, since we don't have such shortcomings, this is called having complete faculties. Some people are in a vegetative state, some are disabled, some cannot hear at all, some cannot see, or, for example, some cannot speak. There are all kinds of disabilities. So for them, it is very difficult to listen to and receive the Dharma because their physical faculties, their bodies, are at this point in time incomplete. If you truly want to receive the Dharma fully and completely, it is in fact extremely difficult. From what I see, there are quite a lot of people with disabilities in China. There are over 80 million people with disabilities in China, about that many people. But we have not, in fact, been reborn in those circumstances. We say we are fortunate. I don't know if you've ever thought about this. We often think this way. It is true. Buddhism says having complete faculties, it really is like that. Otherwise, if we didn't have all the faculties needed to receive the Buddha Dharma, some people would truly be very pitiable. In their hearts, they might have a kind heart that believes in Buddhism, but in reality, they are unable to manage anything else. They are truly pitiable. But for us, currently, the blessings from our past lives that we have received, we should say, it's just that some of us may not really have very good hearing. There are some who can't hear very clearly, and some whose eyesight isn't very good either. But in reality, most of us have the ability to receive the Buddha Dharma. Those who are extremely pitiable, whether beggars or people with disabilities, in such circumstances as one can imagine, it's indeed truly extremely difficult for their virtuous roots to be developed. So in this life, we should feel joyful because all our faculties are intact as they should be. We should think this way. If karma is inverted, we will end up committing all kinds of evil deeds, doing nothing but wrong, and turning away from the true Dharma. But now, since we have developed faith and understanding in virtuous teachings, our motivation is complete. If in the past we were good practitioners, but later, due to negative influences, our own mind streams became tainted by wrong views, then we'd commit all sorts of evil deeds. Some people had already become monastics before, already observing many precepts, but later returned to lay life as an ordinary person, and then subsequently went on to commit various kinds of negative actions. There are such people, including some we know personally. They might have got empowerments and taken individual liberation and bodhisattva vows for a time, and temporarily lived as ascetics, seeming to do very well. But later, perhaps because various negative karmas in their mind streams ripened, they had to return to lay life and start families. In the end, they committed all kinds of evil killing, stealing, and more, leaving no wrongdoing undone. For such people we can sigh, nothing more can be done, pitiable. Even if the Buddha appeared to them now, there would be nothing to do. Moreover, they don't even have a mind inclined toward repentance. Some lay practitioners are like this initially. They have faith in their teacher and the three jewels, but later they abandon everything. Some people even speak in a frightening manner. I will fall and I will not study Buddhism anymore. From now on, I will burn all my Dharma texts. Hearing it shakes you. But these people are so truly ignorant that, generally speaking, when it comes to matters of karma and ethical choices, they don't even want to listen. It's just like the thieves and robbers in the world today who simply refuse to listen to the law or any reasoning related to it. Therefore, we must frequently pray to the teacher and the three jewels, and in our own minds never, ever allow such wrong views or evil thoughts to arise. If such thoughts do arise, I would rather leave this world early. I often think this way, but I trust that in my own mind stream, if it hasn't been tainted by terrifying demonic influences, then in this life, as long as things stay normal, it would be impossible for me to lose faith in the three jewels. Why is that? Because my faith in the three jewels is not just lip service. Deep within my heart, I can already truly feel it. For example, the heat of fire. I feel that the fire is hot. In my experience, the Buddha is correct and the Dharma is unparalleled. This kind of feeling already exists deeply in my heart as a very strong and deeply ingrained habit. And because of this, so generally speaking, it will not change. However, I hope that some Dharma friends, perhaps those who haven't studied for long, or some who have ordained, but for whom ordination hasn't really made a difference. If your view isn't solid, then simply shaving your head will still grow back quite easily and naturally without much difficulty. For some people, especially those who eventually return to lay life, after 3 months, there is basically no difference between me and normal people. In Chinese Buddhism, if there are some obvious marks on the head, it depends, maybe there will be ways to deal with it in the future. Technology is quite advanced nowadays, so these things may not really truly limit your whole life. The most important thing is to have a very firm faith in your heart. With this, I truly think you can be confident throughout your life. It's the same for lay people. Nowadays, some lay practitioners find it easy to develop faith, but also easy to lose it. Why is that, you might wonder? It's because the Dharma simply hasn't been fully and deeply understood yet. So whether we are monastics or lay people, our greatest task is to spread the Dharma throughout the world. I think it's a pity that some temples nowadays, why is that? Because so many tourists are visiting, but the monks inside never actively promote or deliver, nor do they ever give any Dharma talks. And those devotees, aside from burning incense and honoring the Buddha, never seek to learn or understand the principles of the Dharma. In this way, it seems they are only forming a positive connection. But the true Dharma cannot possibly reach deep into their hearts. Some temples should, in order to benefit their communities, hold more Dharma talks and lectures on a regular basis. This is very important for spiritual growth and understanding. If there is only a nice lecture hall, but it is never used for teaching, or if there is only one talk a month, that's unfortunate. If I had the ability to manage a temple, the first thing I would do is build a Dharma lecture hall for everyone to gather and learn together. Then Dharma talks were held there daily. If I could give the talks myself, I would do so. If not, there should be someone with a solid understanding of Buddhism to give daily lectures. In this way, people coming from all over would truly understand principles of Dharma. Otherwise, nowadays, many people do not even understand the most basic Buddhist teachings, let alone the more profound ones. Yesterday, I watched a famous Dharma master's talk on DVD. During his lecture to a group of students in the classroom, there was a significant teaching moment when he paused to explain an important concept. In that scriptural proof, he discussed refuting the four extremes of arising. That is what we often talk about, refuting arising from self, from others, from both, and from no cause. He spoke about it for maybe over 10 minutes, and I laughed for over 10 minutes. After that, I stopped watching. Nowadays, even many Dharma masters do not understand that Dharma is extremely rare. Not everyone misunderstands, but some truly don't get it. There's really nothing more to say about this, honestly. He said this is profound, it's hard to understand. He didn't understand. It's not difficult. For lay practitioners, for many college students and young people, as long as Dharma master can explain it clearly, refuting arising from self, from others, from both, and from no cause is not very hard. But in the end, everything was explained incorrectly, and after explaining it incorrectly, many of the principles in there are extremely unreasonable. So I feel that in our lives today, sometimes, if there is no Buddhist education in this modern world, even for a moment, seems everyone thinks that their own way of doing things is correct. Dharma masters think they're right, and lay practitioners also think they're right. But the true principles of Buddhism, it's emptiness, or certain cause and effect. These principles really should be explained by qualified professionals, such as doctors or experts. It's extremely important. Just wearing the robes of a monastic does not make someone a professional in Buddhism. I don't think that's the case. Only those who have truly received training within Buddhist communities, and that too in very formal Buddhist institutes. Otherwise, if you just have a rough understanding of Buddhism and then due to various circumstances, Dharma masters or lay practitioners gain fame. Once famous, people flock to them. Oh, this person is famous. Even just taking a photo with them is considered a great honor in your life. What he says is definitely 100% correct. Everyone believes that because they're famous, what they say must be right. So they listen with great focus. But there's a feeling something inside me that I can't quite put into words. Every time I try to express it, I pause, unsure if I should let it out. It's not easy to talk about things that matter so much, especially when I'm not sure how they'll be received. Sometimes I think it's better to keep certain thoughts to myself, at least for now. Never mind, I won't say it. This is the perfection of intention. Perfect motivation, in fact, truly requires a deep and complete understanding of Buddha's principles. It's not easy to regress this. It's a very good method. Now, let's just take a moment right now to talk about the fifth point in our ongoing discussion. If, regarding the object of faith, the Dhamma, you do not develop genuine trust, then your mind cannot turn toward the Dharma either. You must have some understanding in your heart of the supreme merits of the Dharma. Once you have some understanding, you will naturally develop great respect. Same with worldly people. Take two students. If one of them truly excels in every aspect, for example, such as character, wisdom, and other important qualities, then while the person can't compare to him, then logically he simply can't help but respect him. Unless that person is completely unreasonable, then there's nothing you can do. In the same way, among all the truths and phenomena in the world, the Dharma is truly the most supreme and incomparable. If from the depths of our hearts we feel, oh, this is the best of all worldly knowledge, the Buddha is the best, and the Dharma is the most correct, then we will develop faith in it. Of course, the prerequisite for developing faith is having a karmic connection with the Dharma from past lives. If there is no such connection, then no matter how absolutely true it is, there is no way to refute it with valid reasoning. But for those without this karmic connection, they may not necessarily develop faith. Nowadays in the world, there are some people, some college students, some intellectuals, who on the surface, in terms of character and overall quality, seem to be good. But as soon as Buddhism is mentioned, they immediately respond with, I don't believe in that stuff. Why don't they believe? Simply because they don't believe, that's all. This kind of attitude is in fact quite common in today's society nowadays, as we can observe. So in this particular regard, I think the karmic connections from past lives are still in fact indispensable. But if you don't have genuine faith within yourself, then no matter how truly great the Dharma is, many people simply cannot approach it. However, everyone present here definitely has faith. Without genuine faith, you simply couldn't possibly come here to study. Truly, there's really no other possible motive. It should be said that everyone here shares this karmic connection. Sometimes, with so many monastics here on our side, our karmic connection is truly quite good. Otherwise, considering the education you've received, your parents, your family, even your neighbors and friends, the people who are close to you, such as those you see every day, the environment is actually quite unfavorable, to be honest.
the environment that you have grown up in from your early childhood years all the way until now is definitely not like the environment in Tibet where Buddhists recite Buddha's name. If you had grown up in such an environment from a young age, it might have been easier for you personally. But even without such an environment, in the end, your virtuous roots, Wakensome, became monastics. Some took precepts. I think this kind of karmic connection is very lucky. Without faith, you couldn't enter this teaching. So, having faith should truly be considered a source of great joy in our lives. Indeed, without a doubt, certainly. And now, being able to turn towards the Dharma yourself in your own life, this is what's called truly perfecting your faith. After gaining faith, we should truly make use of this human body. Having only faith is not enough. We must rely on our faith, recognizing how precious and rare this human life is. It is important that we regularly dedicate ourselves with sincere intention to the practice and study of the Dharma. In the past, there was a great master in Tibet named Rongten Choki. When he was nearing the end of his life and was passing away, he thoughtfully gave his devoted disciples two important pieces of advice, sharing his wisdom with them. He said, "From now on, I hope all my disciples will earnestly study and contemplate during the day and diligently practice at night." After saying this, he quietly passed away peacefully. Therefore, our precious guru also often quoted this teaching in the past, saying that during the day, whether debating, discussing, attending classes, or giving lectures, we must earnestly and sincerely engage with genuine intention with all of our fellow Dharma friends and companions on the path. Everyone should study the Dharma together. And through this process of discussion, many negative thoughts and doubts can often be dispelled on the spot. Because when you indeed bring up your wrong views and misconceptions in front of many wise people and analyze them like this, in the end, nothing remains, everything is completely gone. This is a very effective method. In the evening, during those hours when the world around you becomes relatively quiet and peaceful, you should take the opportunity to thoughtfully contemplate and carefully consider the teachings you have heard throughout the day and have already reflected upon in your mind. When it is convenient, we should spend our lives in this way each and every day. These are the instructions of the lineage masters as follows. In summary, the 5 points mentioned above are the qualities that one should genuinely possess within oneself. All of these ultimately are dependent upon oneself being reborn in the central land, having all faculties intact, and obtaining a human body, as well as having unerring karma and entering the Dharma with faith. All of these are accomplished through one's own efforts. You should also examine if you have these 5 conditions. It should be said that everyone present here indeed possesses them. You should feel joy this is true. Why is that? Because if even one of these is lacking, it is not certain. For example, if you lack faith, then all the conditions for entering the Dharma mentioned above would not be present. If you were born in a border region, then in this lifetime, over several decades, you might never encounter the Dharma and truly have no way to understand the Dharma. Sometimes I really think this way. We have come to this world, I mentioned in ideal circumstances, because the 1970s and 1980s had ended, and afterward we could study the Dharma. We were young, so we could understand Dharma. Moreover, over these past 20 or 30 years, whether it was external policies or the climate, all aspects have been, in recent times, remarkably and relatively stable overall, with no major upheavals or significant disruptions occurring. As far as can be observed, none of those things happen. So in these past few years, our study of the Dharma has been quite normal and complete. Although we may sometimes encounter adverse conditions, today we might feel mentally unwell, tomorrow we might get physically sick, today we might catch a cold, develop a cough, or even have diaretes, are all considered minor health issues. Nothing too serious, just everyday problems that can happen to anyone. We should look at the bigger picture when it comes to studying the Dharma as a whole. Even if it's not for a long period, even if it's just 5, 10, or even 1 year, if we can study the Dharma in a complete way, that is truly a remarkably rare thing, something you really don't see very often. Let's think about it. Today, everyone, many of them are simply not pursuing this, and everyone should, in fact, be able to easily understand that. In fact, this is precisely why it is commonly referred to as the 5 kinds of personal endowments. Next, we talk about the basis of reliance, and below it will be explained in more detail, with each point discussed more extensively. For your better understanding, first, endowment basis reliance. To practice the true and wondrous Dharma properly, being reborn as a human is an essential prerequisite. If you want to truly practice according to the Dharma, you must first and foremost be reborn as a human being in this lifetime. If one has not obtained a human body, then among the three lower realms, the best would be the animal realm. But now, even the animals that live among humans, no matter how people consider their appearance and form to be the most beautiful, the most valuable, and so on, no matter how many advantages they have, if you tell them right now, if you even just recite Om Mani Padme Hum once, you will become a Buddha immediately. But unfortunately, it is absolutely, first cannot understand. If we communicate with them, if you go in front of a goat or a yak, chant Om Mani Padme Hum now, and you will instantly attain Buddhahood. Some people are quite persuasive when they speak, but even if you say this, the yak might not even twitch its ears. Just sitting there completely unaware of any meaning in what you say. It can't utter a single word or sentence either. Looking at it overall, it's true that for the most part, animals definitely just can't really do it. But there are some special cases, as I've mentioned before. There are some stories in the history of Chinese Buddhism where, although someone was actually reborn as an animal in this world, in reality, as a matter of fact, through the merit of hearing the Dharma, they eventually regained a human body. There are, as I've mentioned previously, quite a few such cases, and I've talked about them before, as you might recall. For example, in the past, in the Jinan geographical area, it is important to note that there was a temple called Xinguo Temple and a Dharma master named Master Datong. He often recited the Lotus Sutra, and when reciting the Lotus Sutra, just beneath the far corner of his old stone wall, there was quietly resting a rather distinctive white-necked earthworm. The earthworm kept listening reportedly for 3 years. It listened. But later, a novice monk was digging up weeds with a hoe and accidentally cut the earthworm's body in two, slicing it cleanly and unexpectedly right down the middle without meaning to. The young novice felt very regretful at the time and buried it in the soil. But later, due to the fact that it had listened to the Lotus Sutra with great attention and deep, profound, heartfelt reverence and respect, after a long and meaningful journey, it was finally able to be reborn as a human, experiencing life in a completely new and different way. Then, in the monastery, although he was illiterate, he could recite the entire Lotus Sutra from memory. Later, when Master Datong passed away and was reborn, he himself also prepared to enter meditative death, to pass away. At that time, it seems he relied on Master Kongu or someone like that. When he left this world, all kinds of auspicious signs appeared. So if we look at some historical accounts, there really are quite a few special cases where animals, after hearing the Dharma, were reborn as humans. Some of these might be manifestations of Buddhas or Bodhisattvas appearing before you in a variety of forms or guises, sometimes subtle, and there are also some that could actually understand human language. These cases exist as well. Back in the Ming Dynasty, there was a well-respected scholar, a distinguished literati, indeed, who had a parrot at the time that could recite the name of Avalokiteshvara perfectly. Whether it was morning or night, it would keep chanting continuously. It could even recite some of the most famous and classic poems written by Li Bai, as well as a few exceptionally rare and hard-to-find poems that exist in the world. But in the end, it said something truly extraordinary. It said, "I come from the West, and today I am going to return to the West." Later that very night, in the darkness, it died. At the time, this was quite well known in history, and there are some records of it. So we also want, including what is described in the extensive biography of the Buddha, many animals are actually manifestations of Buddhas or Bodhisattvas. For example, like the story of Avalokiteshvara Mahabhala, and also the story of the fish Rahula in the extensive biography of the Buddha. There are many, many stories of animals who specifically came here to liberate sentient beings. Such cases are actually quite common indeed. It is said that during the Tang Dynasty, there was a parrot that also observed the rule of not eating after noon. There are accounts of this, because after the afternoon, it would not even so much as glance at any food of any kind whatsoever, and simply would not eat anything at all, completely refusing to eat in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. A lay practitioner told me, "Oh, taking the 8 precepts is so painful. I'm starving. I'm starving to death." But really, just one afternoon is not that serious, is it? But some people may have gotten used to it or something. I'm starving. I'm starving. What should I do? I said, hungry ghosts go 12 years without eating anything. I'm being asked to try to visualize something right now, but honestly, I just can't do it. I'm simply too hungry. And that hunger is making it really difficult for me to focus or picture anything in my mind. Just like that parrot earlier, it usually doesn't eat in the afternoon. And as others have mentioned, because the Amitabha Sutra states that parrots and other animals are manifestations of Amitabha Buddha, when it heard these French words, it became more confident. And it recites the Buddha's name sincerely every single day with great and unwavering diligence. Especially when reciting Amitabha Buddha's name, it is very particularly eager to chant. Later, when it was almost nearing death, the people around thought it had already passed away. At that very moment, in the quiet air, as they struck the small, resonant, gentle handbell and softly, rhythmically, gently chanted beside it, it loudly chanted as it passed away and was reborn in the Pure Land. There are such accounts as well. During the Song dynasty, a minor bird could recite Amitabha Buddha's name and attain rebirth in the Pure Land. There are quite a few of these kinds of truly remarkable stories that have been carefully documented throughout history. I think there are also some special cases like this in Tibetan regions. But here, Master Patrul Rinpoche says, generally speaking, ordinary animals are indeed truly, almost shockingly ignorant. For transcendent matters, asking them to practice or go on retreat today, or to perform a virtuous deed, they truly cannot do it, even for humans at worst. If someone can't keep precepts, try one day of 8 precepts. There's really no problem at all with that. If you can't say many mantras, recite Vajrasattva mantra 10, 0 times. Well, that's also not a problem. At the very least, this is a kind of superiority humans possess. But animals really are not like this. Nowadays, people from all around the world, coming from different backgrounds and cultures, truly and firmly believe that some animals are indeed very beautiful, and some are extremely valuable, like what's called a Tibetan Mastiff. In many places in China, people say big dogs from Tibet are Tibetan Mastiffs. Some of those dogs, it's reportedly said, are each valued at an astonishing 40 million RMB in value. They cost 40 million RMB. And in the past, at some point, there was a Japanese person who specifically bought a dog for themselves in the United States. I don't remember the exact details, but it was said that they paid 10 million US dollars at the time. So on the surface, whether it's 40 million or 10 million US dollars, back when we were in school in 1971, there was an extraordinary pair of giant pandas at that time. In which country was it located in exactly? Reportedly, it was $250 with many stories about it. But as for how much was actually paid, no one really knows. What is truly meaningful? They can't even recite a single line of the Avalokiteshvara heart mantra, how pitiful that is. Therefore, consider being reborn as these animals. Maybe they can swim, maybe they can even perform some tricks. This is possible. But when it comes to meaningful virtuous deeds, they are completely incapable. Even if they are about to freeze to death right now, all they can do is lower their heads and endure it. All they can do is wait for death over there. There's nothing else they can do. They wouldn't even really think or even consider any other way. If it were a person, no matter how weak they might be, at least if he actually knew he was going to freeze to death, they would either go into a small dark cave, perhaps seeking shelter or safety, maybe just to rest for a while, or start digging the ground themselves, or gather some firewood, or they might borrow another's cow dung shed. When I say cow shed, everyone at our institute almost always knows what that is, but in some big cities outside, people might wonder, what is a cow dung shed? Is it a tent-made cow dung? They can go there to collect firewood, gathering sticks and branches from the ground, and then use what they have found to build that's certainly possible. In this particular situation, what we see here is that, with the exception of those who truly have no ability to take care of themselves, people really are just a bit different. No matter what happens, some people will still somehow always find a way on their own in the end. So, on that day, there was actually someone involved. Well, I was about to tell you more about what happened, but now that I think about it, maybe it's not the right time to go into all the details. Sometimes it's better to hold back and not say everything that's on your mind, especially when it might not be appropriate. So never mind, I won't say more for now. But as for animals, they simply don't even have this kind of remarkable ability, let alone the thought of practicing Dharma. Animals lack even these basic abilities, so there's no need to even mention practicing Dharma. As for gods and the like, although their bodies are exquisitely beautiful, they still cannot become suitable vessels for the pratimoksha vows. Therefore, their own mental continua also lack the opportunity to attain the complete Dharma. All right, we'll stop here for today.
Om